you ever heard of those lodges?
No, I haven't.
These are Masonic lodges in Italy. Now, just recently, the Italian government, in an effort to free themselves from the mafia and from corruption, did extensive investigations of these lodges. Did you remember the murder of Roberto Calvi?
No, I sure didn't.
You didn't. Well, he was murdered by hanging from Blackfriars Bridge in London. He was a highly degreed member of the P2 Lodge in Italy, and he was involved with the theft from the Catholic Church of maybe hundreds of millions or maybe even billions of dollars. You'll see this referred to or insinuated in The Godfather.
Well,
Now, The Godfather was written by Mario Puzo
yes.
from his actual discussions of the truth with real mafia high-ranking figures. In other words, The Godfather is based upon truth. It's a true story. It had to be written, and it had to be made into a movie as fiction, but it's true. You'll also find that the intelligence community of the United States of America was founded by one Wild Bill Donovan in the OSS. It's also a matter of record with major researchers like me, who have delved into the intelligence community and the secret societies, that all of the members of the OSS were Knights Templars. And it was the higher ups of the OSS, the real veterans of the American intelligence effort during World War II, who founded the Central Intelligence Agency upon executive order of President Truman, who was a 33rd degree Freemason. During World War II, you'll find that the OSS conspired with the American Mafia to create links between the American Mafia and the Italian Mafia in order to spy on the Germans and Mussolini's political and military machine during World War II. You'll also find that post-World War II, the OSS and the Central Intelligence Agency were the responsible for the creation of the P2 Lodge in Italy, which has been responsible for the major corruption and crime in that country and most of Europe for many, many years. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, have a good evening.
You're welcome. Yes, there's definitely a connection, ladies and gentlemen, between the organized underworld and the secret societies. The organized underworld is the underworld extension of the above-world fraternal lodges. How about that? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. 520-333-4578 is the number. You will find that when you get into the honest research of all these things, and when you have researched enough that you can penetrate through all the BS and all the exoteric metaphors and arrive at the esoteric true teachings and the true history, that the average man, unless he wakes up and becomes aware of all this and learns what it is that he is fighting instead of what it is that they want him to believe that he's fighting, is helpless. Helpless. He couldn't win against this secret force if he wanted to. Doesn't care how dedicated, doesn't matter how dedicated he is. Doesn't matter how much he believes in liberty and freedom or anything else. If he doesn't understand the enemy that he's fighting, he cannot win. He won't win. Just as simple as that. These people are not interested in freedom. They're not interested in liberty. They're interested in control. And the first thing that a Freemason learns when he joins the lodge is absolute obedience to the master of the lodge and to the Grand Lodge of his state. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hello, Bill. How are you?
I'm fine.
Bill, the Scottish Rite puts out a journal in Washington, D.C., doesn't it?
Yes, it's now called the Scottish Rite Journal. It used to be called the New Age. I have almost every copy that's ever been printed.
Well, how about bringing us up to date on who's in charge of the journal now? Do you know who they are?
Who's in charge of the actual printing of the journal?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us?
And who sits on the board?
Why don't you tell us?
Okay, let's start with these gentlemen. Right in the first place here, we've got, I believe it was in either November or December, Mel Tillis, who's a 33rd degree Mason. He's the musician over at Branson, Missouri.
Yes.
And we've got the Secretary of Agriculture, Daniel Glickman.
Yes.
They were both conferred to the 33rd degree, I believe it was the 14th of December of this past year, 68? 98.
98, yes.
Yeah, now here's the editor-in-chief of the journal. His name is C. Fred Kleinneck. He's a 33rd degree Mason. Remember him back there in politics not too long ago?
Yes, I do.
And the managing editor now, at the present time, is Dr. John C. Boediger. That's Boettinger. He's a 33rd degree GC. I guess that's Grand Commander.
Uh-huh. That Grand Commander also denotes Knights Templar.
Yeah, okay. Now we've got the business manager. It's Rear Admiral W. Gene Sizemore, 33rd degree.
How about that?
States Navy, retired. Now, here's the interesting ones here. We've got editorial board. Ex-Senator Alan K. Simpson, 33rd degree, honorary chairman. Ernest Borgnine, 33rd degree, honorary chairman. You remember they made a movie, it was called The Wild Bunch with William Holden
Yes.
and Ernest Borgnine?
Yes.
Remember who William Holden was? He was Pike.
Uh-huh.
And that was a political movie. They ought to go back and get that Western and read it. Now, let's go on down this list. We've got honorary co-chairman is Warren D. Lichty, Esquire. He's a 33rd degree. We got Dr. S. Brett Morris, executive secretary. Then we've got Donald G. Brotzman. That's Brotzman, Esquire. Then we've got Darrell J. Brown. These are all 33rd degree.
Sure.
Park A. Dodd Jr., Harry E. Eccles Jr., that's Echolls. Then we got O. James Horton Jr., and we've got Pierre Normad, who happens to be a 32nd degree KCCH.
That's Knights of the Knights Templar.
Yeah, these are the guys that's running it now. Now, let's get over in here. Here's an interesting article. You know.
Also, I want to make a point. You said C. Fred Kleinitz.
Yes.
C. Fred Kleinitz used to be the head of NASA, National Aeronautic and Space Administration.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying that for years, and people, they all know that.
Well, I'm going to send you a copy.
But they didn't know that he was a 33rd degree Freemason, and I've been challenged on that. Now you have confirmed it.
Well, I'm going to send you a photostat copy of it, and then everybody will know it. But I also want to give you something very interesting here
when I said we have all of these, I wasn't joking. I just don't have them right in front of me here tonight.
But now we got one over here that it really should interest everybody. It's on Orange, California, if I can find it here. Just a second here till I turn the page. We've got Rabbi Sidney S. Gutman. He's a 33rd degree Mason. And this is at 5036 Allerton Street, Long Beach, California. That's his address.
Now, don't give out people's private addresses or phone numbers. We don't want anyone to be hurt because of us.
Yeah, okay. Well, now listen to this here. It says Sidney S. Guzman is a member of the Civil Service Commission of Long Beach, California, and a former Grand Chaplain of the Grand Lodge of California. Recently, the Long Beach Veterans Administration Medical Center awarded him a special merit citation for his work as chaplain, and he is rabbi of Congregation Shalom, Leisure World, California, a longtime member of the Long Beach Scottish Rite Bodies and chaplain of the El Malachi Shrine Temple. Incidentally, John Wayne belonged to that also.
Yes, he did.
Rabbi Guzman was recently appointed chaplain of the Long Beach Police Department, the first time a rabbi has been so honored. That's interesting, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is.
And it goes on, there's quite a few more, but I'm going to photograph this and send it to you, and maybe some of the guys that don't believe that this stuff is going on, they can write for a copy, and you can send them one for $5 or something.
Yeah. C. Fred Kleindienst was the head of NASA during the Apollo space program.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that when...
Doesn't that ring a bell?
I think a couple of those guys got burned up down there, didn't they?
Well, all kinds of things.
Apollo.
But if you'll look at the names, the Apollo space program. Who was Apollo?
Yeah.
Apollo was the sun god.
Well, Buzz Aldrin.
Look at-
Buzz
look at-
Aldrin is he's a 33rd degree Mason.
Well,
too,
what
or
I'm-
32nd. I'm not sure. of
What
that.
I'm trying to tell you is to pay attention to the name of the space program, the names of all the different missions, the landing sites, the places on the moons where they landed according to the latitude and longitude of the moon, not the Earth. Okay, all of the things that pertain to the mystery school also pertain to the Apollo space program.
Well, sure, and that's what makes me. I never believed that they went to the moon. I still believe this is
Well, they didn't.
how that was ever perpetrated
Yeah.
on the people.
Yeah, they did not go to the moon in the Apollo space program.
I think they went to the moon, but it was out in Hollywood.
Well,
Moon makers.
you got that right.
Well, Bill, there's a lot more information, and I'm going to get it out and send it to you.
Good.
And I think you'll find it interesting. But I'm sure at one time before you went off the air and I lost track of you, I think I sent you a copy of where the Masonic orders out of France was the leading overthrowers of Russia in 1917.
Yeah,
Now,
the
if
Grand
you think it's false,
the Grand Orient Lodge
the
was
Grand Orient Lodge,
Yes.
there was 42 lodges that led the revolution in Russia in 19 and 17 and
That's-
overthrow the Tsar and his family.
That's correct. They also did the same thing in France.
Well,
The
that-
Grand Orient Lodge was responsible for the French Revolution.
Absolutely.
They were also responsible for the peasants' revolt in England, which tried to overthrow the English crown. And here in this country, it was not the Grand French Orient, but what they call the Jacobins, but they were aligned with the Grand French Orient, and France, in honor of the Masonic revolution in this country, gave us the gift of the Statue of Liberty.
Right, and also, you remember it was Lafayette, Mason, that brought all the guns over here,
That's right.
applied them. So, I mean, this has been a Mason revolution for the last 225 or 30 years. And all you've got to do is get a hold of some of their books and read it.
That's right.
You'll know this stuff is going on.
That's true.
This new world order is nothing but a bunch of Masons trying to formulate this thing right here and make us all peasants in the world.
Well, not just Masons. It is the
Well,
highest.
yes, there's other organizations working with them.
Well, it's not so much organizations. It's the highest degrees of all of the secret organizations, which together call themselves the Brotherhood of Man or the Illuminati.
Bill, I've got books on these guys that you wouldn't believe. Well, you would, because you've read this stuff. You know it. But there's stuff in here. Did you know a Mason can't even be kicked out of the lodge for treason? Did you know that?
That's right. In fact, they must give him aid and comfort and shelter him.
Well, he's a world citizen, see? So anytime he commits treason in a country where he's living, he's really not committing treason against the Masonic order. He's committing treason against a subject country.
Yes, that's
This
correct.
is the thing that goes on. Like you say, now I'm not referring to Blue Lodge Masons. I'm referring to the highest-ranking Masons in the world who
Yes.
make suckers out of the Blue Lodge Masons. And this has been going on so long till it's pathetic. Most Blue Lodge Masons are really ignorant of what's taking place.
You're right. And they also have secret agreements with the governments wherein their lodges exist. For instance, here in the United States, the government has agreed, and there is an agreement between the lodge and the government, that no Freemason can be arrested or persecuted or shot or anything else if he is actually within the doors of the lodge. And police officers have no authority within the lodge.
We just had two Masons here in central Missouri that raped. They was having one of their big shindigs, and they took these women upstairs and raped them upstairs. Like Bill Clinton's pulling that stuff. He's a DeMolay, I believe.
Yes.
He's probably a full-fledged Mason now. But anyhow, these two Masons raped these two women, and it was the headlines of the Springfield, Missouri Leader newspaper. It was about a year ago. Nothing never happened to these guys. They just swept it under the rug.
Sure.
But if that would have been somebody else, they'd went to jail for it.
Well, especially in the state of Missouri. Missouri is one of the most prominent Masonic states in the Union.
Yeah, Bill, there's 121,000 Masons in the state of Missouri.
That they are willing to make public.
Well, that's what their books read, but now that's not.
Well, you don't have access to their books. Those are the secrets of the law.